Kirk is demanding a speedy trial in the case against her husband's accused killer, Tyler Robinson, after she claims his defense team is delaying proceedings.
Forgive him.
You murdered my husband. I have to tell my daughter every day and explain to her why daddy's not coming home.
Something about this story feels off. And the deeper people look, the harder it becomes to ignore the cracks. What first looked like a straightforward case has slowly turned into something much messier, packed with strange timing, unanswered questions, and moments that just don't fully connect. A shocking accusation, a fast-moving legal battle, millions of dollars being questioned behind the scenes. And now, more and more people are starting to wonder if the public has really been given the full picture. Because every time this story seems close to settling down, another detail suddenly appears and changes everything again.
Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him.
The devastating loss of Charlie Kirk, my incredible husband at UVU, Caleb has persisted with the same grit. It has been a long day. Trust me, you're not a grifter, honey. It's all good.
And this is where the attention really exploded. The defense team has continued delaying key developments day after day, keeping the spotlight locked on Erika Kirk. Every time the case appears ready to move forward, something new surfaces online and pulls people right back into the controversy. But one clip in particular completely shifted the conversation. A video started spreading online showing Erika and her mother, Lori, celebrating alongside a man many viewers claimed looked extremely similar to Tyler Robinson, the same man accused in connection to Charlie Kirk.
My name is Joshua Peterson. I worked for Turning Point USA and Turning Point USA Fate, and I knew Charlie Kirk personally. I want to say on the record that there was a inner circle at Turning Point USA that was constantly working against Charlie and his interests and what he wanted to do, as well as there was a Jewish influence in Turning Point that he was not very fond of, that he wanted to get rid of. He tried doing this, he tried creating a Doge department, and he gets assassinated. Another thing that makes me believe this inner circle was constantly working against Charlie was because of the fact that he had a whole entire branch of Turning Point that he had no idea about, and that was the stock market branch. Now, the thing about this branch is it's been getting millions of dollars poured into it over the past 4 years now, and that's been seen through their latest tax returns. This stock market group that...
Within hours, people were replaying the footage, comparing screenshots, and debating whether the resemblance was coincidence or something much bigger. And then everything suddenly changed. Not long after the clip began making rounds online, Erika filed a motion pushing for a speedy trial against Tyler Robinson. That move immediately caught attention because just days earlier, Erika had publicly suggested she forgave him. Now people are asking one big question. What happened in between those two moments? Because from the outside looking in, the sudden shift feels impossible for many viewers to ignore. That's the moment people really started raising eyebrows.
This driver? You're the driver?
Yep.
Robinson. Can you tell me just really quick what happened?
I was coming this way and he's just passing through and he pulled out from here, or no, from there, I think.
Do you remember which lane you were in?
I was in one of those two lanes going this way. I think in the rightmost lane coming this way.
Turning Point has been throwing millions of dollars into the stock market for the past 4 years now, and Charlie Kirk had no knowledge of that whatsoever. Now, if you also look into it a little bit deeper, if you look at the staff on that branch specifically, it says zero. It says there's nobody employed in that branch, yet they're pouring $5 million into funds for employees. Make it make sense. That sounds like money laundering to me. It sounds like there's some pyramid scheme going on behind the scenes at Turning Point that Charlie did not know about originally, and I think that he was planning to expose that, and that's ultimately what got him.
If Erika had already publicly forgiven Tyler Robinson, then why suddenly push for everything to move faster? To a lot of viewers, the shift felt abrupt, almost like the tone of the entire case changed overnight. And the questions didn't stop there. At the same time, Erika was reportedly ignoring her husband's request for a financial audit connected to TPUSA, which only added more tension to the situation. Suddenly, online discussions weren't just focused on the legal case anymore. People started connecting the legal drama to growing concerns about money, transparency, and what might be happening behind the scenes. That's when another major detail changed the conversation completely. Viewers quickly pointed out that speedy trial rights generally belong to the defendant under Utah law and the U.S. Constitution, not the victim. In most situations, it's the accused person who decides whether to push for a faster trial or request delays.
No, but Egyptian
Do
plates.
you believe that Tyler Robinson murdered your husband?
Yes, I do. Again, everyone always has to think there's more to the story. Well, sometimes there's.
So naturally, people began asking why Erika appeared to be stepping into a process that legally may not even be hers to control. And once that question hit the internet, the speculation exploded. Some people believe there's probably a simple explanation behind the motion. Others think the timing feels way too suspicious to ignore. According to public discussion online, a growing number of viewers are starting to wonder whether the sudden push for speed could be connected to the increasing scrutiny surrounding TPUSA and its finances. Because if the case moves quickly, some critics argue it could shut down broader conversations before more questions have time. Again, there's no confirmed evidence proving that's the reason. But the timing alone has been enough to keep the theories spreading fast. And then the viral footage enters the conversation all over again. If the man seen celebrating with Erika's mother really is Tyler Robinson, many viewers can't understand why he would be anywhere near the family during such a sensitive situation. That detail alone completely flipped the narrative for some people online. Suddenly, what once looked like a straightforward case started feeling much harder to fully understand. Now the internet is split right down the middle. Some think people are reading way too deeply into unrelated moments. Others believe there's still a much bigger story sitting beneath the surface. But either way, one thing is clear. The deeper this goes, the more questions keep appearing. Still, one huge question keeps hanging over everything. How far do these connections actually go? As more details continue surfacing around Erika's circle and the people tied to Charlie's situation, a growing number of viewers feel like the public version of events still doesn't fully connect. And the more people look into it, the more complicated the story seems to become. That's when old footage suddenly changed the conversation again. A clip resurfaced from Erika's Instagram showing a New Year's celebration back in 2018. In the video, Erika appears alongside her mother, Lori Franz, and an unidentified man many online viewers immediately claimed looked very similar to Tyler Robinson. Once the footage started spreading, social media exploded. People were freezing frames, comparing screenshots, and debating whether the resemblance was just coincidence or something much bigger. But there's a major problem with that theory. As of now, there is absolutely no confirmed proof that the man in the clip is Tyler Robinson. And once people started looking closer at the timeline, things became even more confusing. Reports state Tyler was born in 2003, which would make him around 15 years old at the time the footage was recorded. For many viewers, that detail alone makes the theory much harder to believe. And this is where the story suddenly takes another turn. Some online sources have suggested the man in the video could actually be Erika's ex-boyfriend, Ben Cabot Phillips. That possibility completely changes the context of the footage and gives a much more ordinary explanation for what people thought they were seeing. But even with that explanation floating around, the debate hasn't slowed down at all. Because for a lot of viewers, the bigger question still remains. If Tyler Robinson isn't the full story, then how exactly did he end up at the center of everything? That uncertainty has kept online speculation moving nonstop, with people questioning whether there were any previous connections between Tyler, Erika's family, or even TPUSA itself. Right now, though, none of those claims have been clearly confirmed, and the mystery only deepened when another clip resurfaced. A body cam video from 2022 recently started making rounds online, and many viewers were shocked by how different Tyler appeared compared to the image being pushed across social media. Instead of coming across as confident or highly calculated, he seemed awkward, nervous, and socially uncomfortable during the interaction. And for many people watching closely, that contrast changed the entire vibe of the story, because suddenly the image people had in their heads didn't seem to line up as cleanly anymore. And that's exactly why the debate keeps getting louder. In the body cam footage, Tyler comes across completely differently from the image many people expected. He sounds awkward, uncomfortable, and unsure of himself, not calm or in control the way some imagined based on the accusations surrounding the case. That contrast alone immediately grabbed attention online and sparked a whole new wave of debate. The more people watched the clip, the more questions started surfacing. According to public reactions, many viewers felt Tyler appeared more like someone struggling socially than someone confidently navigating a serious situation. He stumbles over his words, hesitates during basic questions, and often seems confused about what's happening around him. Instead of looking composed, he comes across nervous and overwhelmed by the interaction itself. And that's where the internet really split. Some viewers believe the footage doesn't prove anything and are warning people not to overanalyze short clips taken out of context. Others argue the body cam video completely clashes with the public image that's been built around him. Because when people compare this awkward, uncertain version of Tyler to descriptions of someone highly calculated, the disconnect becomes difficult for many to ignore. That's why the footage keeps getting replayed over and over again. People online have been breaking down small details frame by frame, pointing to moments where Tyler appears unusually passive when interacting with authorities. He doesn't push back aggressively. He doesn't seem strategic or controlled. If anything, many viewers say he looks lost and unsure how to respond in real time, and this is where the conversation gets even more complicated. Some online commentators have started suggesting Tyler appears like someone who could be easily influenced by stronger personalities around him. One specialist who reportedly reviewed the footage even commented that Tyler came across as someone potentially vulnerable to pressure from authority figures or people he viewed as mentors or close friends. That observation quickly spread online and added another layer to the growing speculation. But it's important to remember that these are still interpretations, not confirmed facts. Body language alone can't fully explain someone's role in a situation this serious. Still, for many viewers following the case closely, the footage introduced a version of Tyler that looked nothing like what they expected. And once that image started spreading online, the entire conversation around the case suddenly became a lot less clear-cut than before. From a public perception standpoint, the optics around this situation have become incredibly messy. The moment people learned about Erika's choice of attorney, reactions online started pouring in fast. Many viewers immediately questioned why someone publicly pushing for justice would hire a lawyer tied to several high-profile and controversial cases. And once that conversation started, it spread everywhere. Some people believe the decision probably has a straightforward explanation. Others think the choice feels unusual enough to raise even bigger questions about what may be happening behind the scenes. Right now, there's no confirmed evidence pointing to any hidden agenda, but the timing and optics alone have been enough to keep speculation growing nonstop. Then the focus shifted toward another issue entirely: money. Jeffrey Neiman's legal services are widely viewed as expensive, which quickly led people online to ask how those legal costs are being covered. With so much public attention already surrounding the case, discussions about funding sources exploded almost overnight. Some are questioning whether support could be tied to TPUSA, private financial backers, or donations connected to Charlie's legacy. As of now, though, there hasn't been any detailed public explanation fully answering those questions. And when financial details stay unclear, the internet tends to fill in the blanks fast. According to online discussions, the lack of transparency surrounding legal expenses has become one of the biggest reasons public suspicion continues growing instead of fading away. But this is where things become even more confusing. The motion involving a speedy trial is still raising major questions because under the law, that right generally belongs to the accused person, not the victim. In this case, Tyler Robinson would normally be the one able to request proceedings move faster or slower. That legal detail completely changed the tone of the conversation online. Suddenly, people weren't just debating the case itself anymore. They were questioning what Erika's motion was actually meant to accomplish. Some believe it could simply be symbolic or part of a broader legal strategy the public doesn't fully understand yet. Others think the timing feels too coordinated to ignore. But until clearer explanations surface, the uncertainty surrounding the motion continues adding more pressure, more speculation, and even more attention to a case already filled with nonstop controversy. And right now, every unanswered question only seems to make the story grow bigger. Even without confirmed answers, the overlap between all these issues has been enough to keep people talking nonstop. Legal drama, financial questions, resurfaced footage, public contradictions. Everything seems to be colliding at once. And because Erika still hasn't publicly addressed her husband's reported request for a financial audit, more people online have started investigating TPUSA on their own. That's when the internet really started digging deeper. Independent researchers, financial commentators, and online analysts began combing through publicly available records, trying to piece together how the organization operates behind the scenes. According to public discussion, several breakdowns quickly spread across social media, with users analyzing salaries, revenue reports, event spending, and investment patterns in extreme detail. One deep dive in particular gained massive attention. An online user known as The Parable shared a detailed analysis claiming TPUSA's structure showed similarities to a multi-level marketing style setup. To be clear, that remains an allegation based entirely on their own interpretation of public financial information, not an officially confirmed finding. Still, the thread spread fast because the breakdown raised questions many viewers hadn't considered before, and then the numbers started grabbing attention. According to that analysis, out of roughly $8.5 million in reported revenue, around $5.2 million allegedly went toward salaries, while another $2.5 million was reportedly spent on conferences and events. Once those figures started circulating online, people immediately began debating whether too much money was staying inside the organization itself instead of going toward broader outside impact. That interpretation sparked a huge divide online. Supporters argue that large organizations naturally require major staffing, travel, media production, and event budgets to operate nationally, but critics see those same numbers very differently. According to public commentary, some believe many of the events mainly function to grow TPUSA's own visibility, influence, and internal brand, rather than directly benefiting the broader movement being promoted. And this is where the criticism gets even sharper. Some online commentators have described the structure as a system that appears heavily focused on sustaining and expanding itself internally. Others argue that interpretation goes too far and unfairly ignores how advocacy organizations typically operate at scale. Either way, the debate has become incredibly intense because every financial detail now feels connected to the larger controversy surrounding the case. But it's important to keep one thing clear: these conclusions are based on outside analysis of limited public records, not proven misconduct or official findings. Right now, much of the conversation is being driven by interpretation, public distrust, and the growing feeling among some viewers that there may still be more happening behind the scenes than people realized. And the deeper the internet digs, the louder the questions seem to get. According to the financial analysis circulating online, critics claim that for every dollar reportedly coming into TPUSA, around 61 cents goes toward salaries. That number immediately grabbed attention because it suggests more than half of the organization's reported revenue may be spent paying staff and leadership rather than directly funding outside initiatives or programs. And once people saw those figures, the conversation exploded. For many viewers, the idea that such a large percentage of revenue could be tied to payroll raised serious questions about priorities inside the organization. Supporters argue that national organizations require large teams, media operations, event staff, and constant public outreach to function effectively. But critics believe the spending patterns look far more focused on maintaining the organization itself than creating measurable outside impact. Then there's the second major category, events. Based on the same breakdown, roughly 29 cents of every dollar is reportedly directed toward conferences, gatherings, and promotional events connected to TPUSA. Supporters say those events are central to spreading the organization's message, building influence, and expanding engagement nationwide. Critics, however, see something completely different. According to public commentary, some believe many of the events function less like traditional outreach and more like internal brand-building operations designed to grow visibility, loyalty, and influence around the organization itself. And that interpretation is exactly what has kept the debate growing online. Because when people break the numbers down further, the optics start looking even more intense. If those estimates are accurate, only a relatively small percentage, around 10 cents per dollar, according to that interpretation, would remain for broader mission-focused efforts outside staffing and event operations. That framing has led many viewers to ask a much bigger question. How much of the money is truly driving the movement being promoted publicly? And how much is simply sustaining the organization internally? To be fair, nonprofit financial structures can vary dramatically depending on strategy, growth stage, and operational goals. Large salaries and event budgets are not automatically signs of wrongdoing. And it's important to remember that these financial conclusions are based on outside interpretations of public records, not confirmed misconduct or official findings. Still, the backlash online has been growing fast. A lot of critics are now questioning what specific measurable impact TPUSA is producing compared to the amount of money reportedly flowing through the organization. According to online reactions, some people feel the clearest financial benefits appear concentrated among leadership rather than spreading outward toward the broader mission supporters donate to. And this is where executive compensation became a major talking point. Reports and online discussions suggest certain executives tied to TPUSA may be earning salaries ranging from roughly $200,000 to $400,000 per year. Those numbers immediately sparked reactions because many viewers began asking what exactly justifies compensation at that level. Public speaking, media appearances, event hosting, and maintaining online influence are all part of leadership roles within major organizations. But critics argue visibility alone doesn't always translate into meaningful real-world results. That contrast is exactly what's driving so much frustration online. Supporters believe experienced leadership and large-scale media strategy require competitive salaries to maintain national influence. Critics, on the other hand, feel the personal financial upside for leadership appears much more visible than the measurable outcomes tied to the broader cause itself. And because full financial transparency remains limited, the debate continues living in a gray area where interpretation shapes almost everything. Some viewers believe the criticism is exaggerated, others think the numbers raise serious concerns worth examining more closely. Either way, every new financial detail entering the conversation seems to make the controversy even bigger. And for many people watching closely, the deeper they look into the numbers, the harder it becomes to stop asking questions. Critics online are now focusing on another issue tied to TPUSA: who exactly ends up in some of the organization's highest paying positions. According to growing public discussion, some people believe certain roles may have gone to individuals whose qualifications are being questioned rather than longtime political strategists or experienced organizers with years of background in the field. And once that perception started spreading online, the backlash grew fast. Critics argue that personal relationships, friendships, and internal connections may play a much bigger role in advancement than outsiders originally realized. None of that has been officially proven, but for many viewers, the optics alone have been enough to raise concerns about how the organization operates behind the scenes. That's why the conversation has become so heated. From the outside looking in, some commentators say the structure appears less like a strict merit-based system and more like a tightly connected network where loyalty and proximity to leadership may carry major advantages. A few critics have even compared the atmosphere to an exclusive social circle where the same people continue benefiting financially and professionally. Supporters strongly reject that characterization. They argue that trusted relationships naturally develop inside any fast-growing organization, and that leadership often relies on people they know personally because of trust, efficiency, and shared experience. But according to public reactions online, many viewers still feel the financial questions surrounding TPUSA haven't been answered clearly enough to fully calm the criticism. And then people started revisiting old moments with a completely different perspective. One particular clip from a past event has quietly resurfaced online, and suddenly viewers are looking at it in a whole new light. At the time, many people brushed the moment off as awkward, harmless, or insignificant. But now, with financial debates dominating the conversation, some believe the comment may have accidentally revealed more than intended about how things operate internally. Whether that interpretation is fair or not, the timing has made the clip impossible for some viewers to ignore. Because once public trust starts slipping, even small moments begin carrying much bigger weight. Old footage gets re-examined, past comments sound different, and suddenly details that once seemed meaningless become part of a much larger story people are trying to piece together. And right now, that growing uncertainty is exactly what keeps the internet locked into this case. To some viewers, that resurfaced moment no longer feels like a harmless mistake or an awkward comment taken out of context. Instead, according to growing online discussion, people are beginning to see it as a rare glimpse behind what they believe is a carefully managed public image. Whether that interpretation is fair or not, the timing of everything happening around TPUSA has suddenly made old clips feel much more important. And according to research shared by The Parable, the financial questions go far beyond salaries and event spending alone. That's when another major detail entered the conversation. Based on the same public breakdown circulating online, critics claim a massive portion of TPUSA's reported assets are tied up in publicly traded securities. One filing discussed online allegedly showed around $63 million connected to stocks and investments, which some estimates suggest could represent close to 90% of the organization's assets. And with newer reports placing total assets even higher, people immediately started asking how investment-heavy the organization may actually be. That number completely changed the tone of the debate. For an organization publicly presenting itself as grassroots and mission-driven, some critics argue that having such a large percentage of assets tied to market investments feels unusual. According to online commentary, many viewers expected to see more resources connected directly to programs, outreach efforts, infrastructure, or visible mission-focused projects. But this is where opinions split sharply again. Supporters point out that many large organizations and nonprofits invest reserve funds as part of long-term financial planning. Maintaining investment portfolios is not automatically suspicious, especially for organizations managing tens of millions of dollars. From that perspective, stock holdings can simply represent a strategy for maintaining stability and future growth. Critics, however, continue pushing a different interpretation. Some online commentators have argued the structure appears increasingly investment-focused compared to what they would expect from a traditional advocacy organization. According to those discussions, the balance between investment growth and direct mission spending feels difficult for some viewers to ignore. But again, it's important to stress that these are interpretations based on public financial analysis, not confirmed evidence of wrongdoing. Still, every new number entering the conversation seems to spark another wave of debate. And right now, for many people following the story closely, the financial side of TPUSA is becoming just as controversial as the legal drama surrounding the case itself. Now, the questions surrounding TPUSA's finances are starting to stack up fast. People online are asking who exactly manages these investments, who decides where millions of dollars are allocated, and who ultimately benefits when those assets increase in value. According to public discussion, these are the kinds of details many believe a full financial audit could finally clear up, which is exactly why the topic keeps coming back into the spotlight. And the more people talk about it, the more curiosity grows. Some critics have even argued that resistance to a full audit only creates more suspicion. But it's important to separate speculation from fact. because there's currently no confirmed evidence proving anyone is intentionally avoiding transparency for improper reasons. Still, when major financial questions remain unanswered, the internet rarely stops digging. Then another layer was added to the story. Claims started circulating from a former TPUSA employee who allegedly spoke out about concerns involving how the organization handled money internally. According to those statements, the former employee believed certain financial patterns lined up with what outside critics had already been pointing to online. However, those claims have not been independently verified, and there's currently no official confirmation supporting the allegations. Even so, the accusations spread quickly. The same source reportedly claimed that Charlie himself had concerns about the organization's finances before everything escalated publicly. Exactly how much he knew, or how deeply involved he may have been in those discussions, remains unclear. There's no confirmed evidence showing the full scope of any internal disagreements that may have existed behind closed doors. But this is where the story suddenly gets even more complicated. According to the whistleblower's account, the organization allegedly operated with what they described as a two-layer structure. In their interpretation, Charlie supposedly remained focused on the public-facing side of TPUSA, speeches, media appearances, events, and building support, while a smaller internal group handled many of the key financial decisions privately. That claim alone triggered a huge wave of reactions online. Critics immediately questioned whether too much financial control may have been concentrated within a small circle behind the scenes. Supporters pushed back hard against that narrative, arguing that large organizations often divide public leadership roles from financial management responsibilities, making the structure far less unusual than critics suggest. But then another allegation pushed the conversation even further. According to the same source, things allegedly started changing around 6 months before everything unfolded publicly. The whistleblower claimed Charlie had begun asking more direct questions about the organization's finances, including concerns about unusually high expenses and whether incoming revenue actually reflected meaningful growth in the broader movement. If true, those conversations could suggest Charlie had started looking more closely at how certain parts of the organization were operating internally. But once again, it's important to emphasize that these remain allegations from a single source and have not been independently confirmed. Still, for many viewers, following the story closely, the possibility of internal tension tied to finances has become one of the most talked about parts of the entire controversy. And with every new claim that surfaces, the line between public narrative and online speculation only seems to get blurrier. The whistleblower also made another allegation that immediately caught attention online. According to their account, when Charlie reportedly asked for more detailed financial records, he was allegedly told the information was too complicated to fully understand without professional help. The source claimed that every time Charlie pushed for clearer explanations, he ran into resistance and was encouraged to stay focused on his public role instead of digging deeper into the financial side of the organization. That claim alone sparked major debate. If true, some critics argue it could point to deeper problems involving oversight, transparency, and internal communication behind the scenes. Others strongly disagree, pointing out that large organizations often rely on accountants, attorneys, and financial specialists to manage complicated structures that aren't easy for everyone to interpret quickly. Right now, though, these accusations remain unverified and highly contested. According to the whistleblower, Charlie was repeatedly reassured that everything was under control and that his concerns weren't something he needed to worry about directly. The source claimed conversations would often shift away from financial questions and back toward public appearances, speeches, events, and maintaining visibility for the organization. And that detail is what really grabbed people's attention. Some online commentators are now describing those alleged interactions as possible distraction tactics designed to keep deeper scrutiny away from the financial side of operations. But again, there's currently no confirmed evidence proving that interpretation is accurate. At this stage, much of the conversation is being driven by competing narratives and public speculation rather than verified findings. Still, one question keeps coming up over and over again. If Charlie truly had limited involvement in major financial decisions, how is that even possible, considering his leadership position? As president of the organization, many viewers naturally assume he would have had at least some awareness of where major assets and investments were being managed. And that's where the conversation splits in two completely different directions. One possibility being discussed online is that certain internal decisions may have been handled without Charlie's full oversight or involvement. Critics argue that, if true, it could point towards serious management and accountability issues behind the scenes. The other possibility is that Charlie may have known more than people realized but simply chose not to publicly involve himself in those details. Right now, though, neither version has been definitively proven. And because so much of the story still relies on allegations, interpretations, and incomplete information, the mystery surrounding what Charlie truly knew continues fueling nonstop debate online. Both possibilities are now being debated heavily online, but neither one has been definitively proven. And that uncertainty is exactly why this story keeps getting bigger. If Charlie truly was kept out of major financial decisions inside the organization, critics argue that would point to serious breakdowns involving oversight, communication, and internal trust, problems that go far beyond ordinary mismanagement. But if the opposite is true, the implications become completely different. If Charlie was actually aware of more than people initially believed, then the conversation quickly shifts toward accountability, transparency, and why certain financial concerns may never have been addressed publicly. Right now, though, there's still no confirmed evidence clearly proving either version of events, which is why the speculation continues growing instead of slowing down. And for many viewers, that uncertainty has become impossible to ignore. Questions about who knew what, who made key decisions, and how finances were really handled behind the scenes are now sitting at the center of the entire controversy. According to public discussion online, a lot of people feel like there are still too many missing pieces for the story to feel fully complete. One question in particular keeps resurfacing. Was Charlie trying to distance himself from certain internal issues, or was he preparing to eventually bring more information into the open? Depending on how people interpret the situation, those possibilities lead in completely different directions. Some believe he may have been gradually looking deeper into financial concerns. Others think the public simply doesn't have enough verified information to understand the full picture yet. And this is where the conversation circles back to Erika again. Some online commentators have started connecting that uncertainty to Erika's push for a speedy trial, speculating that resolving the legal side quickly could potentially reduce attention on broader financial questions before more details have time to surface. However, it's important to emphasize that there's currently no confirmed evidence proving those events are directly connected. Still, the timing has been enough to keep theories spreading online. At the same time, public trust around the situation appears increasingly divided. A growing number of viewers no longer seem fully convinced by the current narrative surrounding either the legal case or the financial discussions tied to TPUSA. As a result, attention has started shifting directly toward the organization itself, especially now that Erika reportedly holds a larger leadership role. People online are asking tougher questions about donations, salaries, investments, and transparency than ever before. Critics argue that if additional financial details eventually become public, it could significantly impact how supporters view the organization moving forward. Supporters, meanwhile, insist much of the criticism is being driven by assumptions and incomplete information. Either way, the pressure surrounding TPUSA doesn't appear to be fading anytime soon, and every new question seems to pull even more people into the story. But again, none of this guarantees where the story